This was Rich Eisen in a segment that he did on his radio show yesterday with the 5 juiciest rumors he heard at the NFL Combine, talking about the Bears and what they plan to do with that number 1 overall pick.
The Bears are already long down the road of trading the first overall pick. Teams have been identified. Compensation is being hammered out.
Wow.
Yeah. And sure enough, I saw Ryan Poles say today, I believe in Peter King's Football Morning in America column, if I'm not mistaken, saying that, hey, teams kind of want to know maybe before free agency begins if they have a draft pick high enough to take a kid. And if a team wants that quarterback certainty this early in the process, they're going to have to pay for it. Man, Poles is playing this thing like a virtuoso so far as I'm concerned. So I hear the Bears are already long down the road in trading this first-round draft choice.
Virtuoso? Why doesn't he just say, like something normal?
He has to flex he's a Michigan guy, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Come
on.
Man.
Highfalutin.
A person who excels in the performance of an art is what virtuoso means. You think that this is playing it well? Second-year GM won't shut up about his number 1 overall draft pick that he intends to move? Paul said this to Peter King. No one's going to rush me. I know I can get a 2024 first-round pick and a 2025 first-round pick. You're telling me for the next 2 years, I'll have 2 1s? That's either 4 really good players, or if we're cruising, we can still trade back. From what I understand, he's essentially saying that you can do a pick swap in the first round and get 2 more first-round picks. What? 2 to move up? 1 extra one with the swap. Okay, I could understand that. 2? That's where you're starting? And he has been talking to everyone. He was on Pardon My Take as well. You know what I smell when I see a general manager that is regularly whoring himself out to the media? I see desperation. You can't inflate a market by constantly talking about something when you're a second-year general manager. Teams across the league are probably looking at Ryan Poles with the side eye. He's in his second year as general manager. This is a guy who traded the 32nd overall pick in the draft for Chase Claypool, who is not a very good wide receiver. This guy isn't the sharpest, in my opinion. He might become that someday, but experience matters when you're a general manager. If you're a general manager across the league and you see this guy flexing and talking to everybody, do you actually believe that he's going to get the compensation that he is essentially promising here? I don't. Not at all. Experience matters, and any general manager, I think, should play hardball with Ryan Poles. You want to play it like this? Make him wait. Poles wants this done by the end of free agency. Or the start. He wants it done now. That's why he's talking about things from this perspective. There's progress. Things have moved down the road. The only team that I think would be perhaps that desperate are the Colts, but the Colts are playing hardball publicly. The Texans have been playing hardball publicly. The Texans are acting like, yeah, we need 2 quarterbacks. We're not really sure where we're going to get them. And Chris Ballard did not marry himself to the idea of trading up to number 1. He was the one pushing back with Jim Irsay in that introductory press conference for their new head coach, Shane Steichen. So I think if you're a general manager right now, just wait. Poles will panic and probably get less than what he is looking for if you just wait until right before the start of the NFL draft. He is trying to create an artificial market. This is Media 101. If you've been following the NFL enough, like the people who are blabbing the most about trying to make something happen are generally desperate to make something happen and don't have the market that they think that they do. So this is very see-through in my opinion. I think that the Bears are very likely, just given their history, to bleep this up again, because that's what they do. The Bears are a terrible organization and have been for years. Paul Galancho, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5, 713-780-3776. Ban Swanger on twitch.tv/ESPN 97.5 says the Chicago GM thinks he's Kevin Costner. Yes! That is perfect for the movie Draft Day, which you might have seen. Calm down, bro.
I do like the publicly, basically just telling Peter King, like, this is what I would love to get. A 24 and a 25 first. Don't pick up the phone unless you're offering that. It's like everyone is like, it's negotiating 101. It's like, I'm going to ask for so much.
Right.
Publicly. And then it's like, okay, come on.
I mean,
You're a 2025 first.
What a hard-o. No one's going to rush me. Okay. What happens if no one rushes you and they just wait you out? You will panic and take less than what you think you can get right now. So let's see. If I'm a general manager, I see this guy talking, I'm like, F him.
It's also very funny that he's a second-year general manager, like, with a pretty big decision to make.
Yes.
And also, Nick Caserio, here, his second year, had to trade Deshaun Watson. It's like both these guys just like, oh, yeah, here's the deep end. Enjoy.
This isn't the deep end, though. This is a 37-year-old ex-player in this role that I think believes himself to be very good at this job. I think he's operating with ego here. Why? You traded a first-round pick for Chase Claypool, who is not a plus wide receiver in the NFL. He's not. It's a guy who thinks he's like a top 5 wide receiver for some crazy reason. He's not. I don't think highly of Ryan Poles to this point. I don't understand why.
Just the Chase Claypool.
That's a terrible trade. That was a terrible trade. I get it. You want to get help for Justin Fields. That's desperate. It is. And this, like saying, like, no one's going to rush me. Sorry, I see through this. This is young general manager trying to figure it out on the fly, thinking that he has a handle by granting access. And Rich Eisen saying, like, yeah, he's playing this like a virtuoso. Rich, stick to the Jets. Just stop.
Well, no, that is I had dinner with Ryan Poles.
Probably.
that is I had dinner with this guy. So he's great.
There's an interesting tidbit that I had to look up myself about what the Houston Texans might do. Per CBS Sports, there is a push within the building for the Texans to sign Jimmy Garoppolo and play him in 2023 while drafting a quarterback at some point in the first round with the plan to sit him for the year and grow. So there's a couple of ways to look at this. You could take it at face value and you could 100% believe that the Houston Texans are going to sign Jimmy Garoppolo and make him their starting quarterback. Or this is the Texans trying to put more confusion in the air, given that they have the number 2 overall pick and the number 12 overall pick. And I think it's the latter. You bring in Jimmy Garoppolo maybe if you were thinking about drafting Anthony Richardson or something like that. But if you draft a young quarterback, if it's Bryce Young, you're putting the guy in right away, I would think, even with the concerns that you have about the offensive line. And I would say the same thing probably for C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. But to go back to something we discussed earlier in the hour, the Bears general manager, Ryan Poles, being as, I think, aggressively open to the point that he sounds a little bit desperate, talking with anyone who will listen. Peter King, pardon my take, whatever sources he had that talked to Rich Eisen. And it makes me feel like they're just posturing as hard as they can to try and drum up a perhaps non-existent market to trade up to that number 1 overall pick. And I think that this is a way of the Houston Texans saying, sure, go ahead. You want to get that number 1 overall pick off your hands? Have at it. We're not going to do it. And I imagine the Colts will play the same game. And I think the best play for any NFL GM, especially when you see some hard-of young guy who's in his second year who's saying, like, yeah, you're not going to rush me. Saying, like, okay, fine, we will wait you out. We will wait until you are desperate and you take less than you get. Because I don't think the Bears want to have that number 1 overall pick. They want to get more picks. And they have less leverage, I think, with that number 1 overall pick because of what's going on with Jalen Carter. I think some team's going to be willing to take Jalen Carter, probably within the top 15 picks, but with the misdemeanor charge that's against him, our team's going to feel good taking him early when they're already where there's questions about character concerns. So things to keep in mind.